Yo, 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 gang. Are you guys all there? Able to hear me? I hope you guys can hear me. Say hi in the chat if you're around. I know my G Xenopath is already here. Thanks for joining in, bro. Mark is in the house as well. That's epic. I can get started then with my storytelling, because the purpose of this video or live stream is I just wanted to document a little bit of my journey, I guess, my kind of like my mission in spreading DNB in different parts of the globe, what I've done or I've managed to do so far. Because I had a student, my student Sirok, he's a really, really nice kid from England, the other day asked me a question on the spot. He was like, what is the actual mission of the Artifact brand? Like, what are your main goals? And I was like, I was taken by surprise a bit. I was like, that's a really good question. And so part of it is, he was like, are you a teacher or are you an artist or what are you? And I was like, it was both really, but the idea or the main goal it comes down to is like being of service to others in one way or another. Really, because I found that if I just chased just chase fame or chase success or chase clout or something like that, then it, like, even if you get it, it always leads you to feel like super empty afterwards, because it's not really actually all it's made out to be. So at some point I realized that, so I sort of changed my mindset to just like try to my goal is just to like be of like service to others, so that can be through teaching and helping people one-on-one, or like when I'm like DJing, like it's just about trying to provide like the best night that I can for people to enjoy, you know. So yeah, my mindset kind of shifted like that. So I've been really blessed to travel quite a lot and DJ around the world, the music that I love. But I say that I'm blessed, but to be honest, like I made it work as well, to be honest. Like, it wasn't like every place I've played hasn't like flown me out and paid for me. Like I'm like naturally like I have an addiction to traveling, so I'll go somewhere anyway, and then like if I play there, then it's just like a bonus. So this is my journey on DJing in different countries, basically. So I wanted to do like a bit of like a chronological order of pictures that I could show you, but I couldn't really scrape together everything in time, and I was really rushing. So it's all kind of going to be like it out of, not in order at all. But so just a small backstory. Like, the first gig I had, I think, was in my hometown in Maidstone in England when I was living there. I can't really remember it, to be honest. I sometimes struggle to remember if I actually played or if I was imagining it. But anyway, the next gig after that was in Brighton, and I'll show that. I've got pictures of that one to prove it. But then I travelled in Asia, and I played in Vietnam, like proper randomly. That's a bit of a. I'll move on to that story in a second, because it's not really a real gig. Then I moved to Germany, and I played in Germany like quite a lot before I played anywhere else. Then I played in Austria. I played in Kiev in Ukraine. I played in Poland. Then I played in Finland, and then more recently, after the lockdown and things started to pick up again for me slowly, that's when I went and played in I played in Colombia, then played in Puerto Rico, back in England, most recently in Israel, and then I love saying it like that. I don't know why. Israel. I don't know why. I don't know if that's how the Americans say it, but I like saying it that way. And then next one in the Netherlands. Anyway, so thanks you guys who are actually watching this live. But I was thinking to just make like a video and not do a live stream. But I thought, in case anyone's bored on a Sunday evening and wants to watch me ramble, then you're more than welcome to get involved and ask questions and stuff. But yeah, that's like my kind of journey on the places I played. And yeah, let's run through some of these pictures. Some of them are really terrible quality, like this one. This was in. I just give so I can give like a little story of the event. So this was like in Poland. I think this is the only event that I played for like in the last 8 years for like free, or I think they paid for my train and I think they paid for my food. I had like some pierogies or something at backstage. But this was during lockdown, and Germany, where I was living, was actually on lockdown, and so you couldn't go out in Germany. So it was really, really boring, and I felt like just jumping out my window. I was so bored. So I got this opportunity to go and play in Poland, and I was like, I did try to get paid for it, but they were like, no, it's just like a bit of a free, like fun kind of private party. And I was like, yeah, screw it. Like, I've just got to get out there and do something because I'm going mental in this lockdown. So I think that's one of the only times I played for like free, like in my career. But it was just, it was deep in the heart of lockdown. So it was like, why not? That was that trip in Poland. I was super, super happy the next morning because it was just like the first time I'd been able to DJ for like a year, or I don't know how long it was. So at that moment, the money like really didn't mean anything. It was just about being able to play again. This was like one of the first like coolest big gigs that I got booked for. That was in Austria, in Linz, and that was really cool. That was with some of the German crew. Manta was. It is going to be the journey of memories and dodgy haircuts. You're absolutely right, Mark. Manta was supposed to play, and I was really excited because we wrote a collab. I think it was around the same time, but he got sick and he couldn't come. So I basically, I suppose I was maybe the main headline act then instead of him. But the other boys all absolutely smashed that party. That was the party. It was quite a young crowd, and they really liked it fast, like the transitions. Like all the other boys were like doing like drop after drop super quickly, and that's not really how I mix. So when I stepped up, I was a bit like, are they going to lose attention too quickly if I do like slower mixing? But thankfully they didn't, and so I struck a good balance, and they did really enjoy it. I got a lot of claps, so that's usually a good sign. But yeah, that was a sick gig. And that was the Airbnb we had. It's basically, I was a bit cheeky. I made the boys like get us like the best one that they could because I wanted my own room, because they wanted to like share rooms, and I was like, nah, I need my own room. So we ended up getting like a bit of a fancy one. But yeah, that was a sick Airbnb though. That was the same night. That was a proper journey actually, because we actually road tripped it. I had to go and meet them in Hanover from Berlin. Then we had to drive from Hanover down to Austria, which is like a whole day drive. Park up, go to the Airbnb, lie down for like an hour or two, and then go to the gig. And I was like absolutely shattered from that drive. Not that I drove, but even just sitting in a car for that long, like it just tires you out. And then we literally drove back like the next day, so we didn't even get to enjoy the apartment at all, really. Just for a coffee in the morning, and then headed back home. Got back like so late in Hanover, and I ended up crashing at theirs, and before I came back to Berlin. So that was just a exhausting travel. That was like proper road trip adventure down to Austria, but it was a sick night though. This was Finland. This was like definitely one of my best trips. I would say definitely in my top 5, maybe in my top 3. Um, I haven't listed them all on here because I can't remember all of them and I haven't got photos of everything, but I've got the main like ones. Yeah, that was sick because I've never been to that part of the world. I wouldn't really choose to like go there on holiday because it's like a little bit expensive. Um, but yeah, that was one where I got booked to play with a with a hotel and stuff. So I was like, absolutely, definitely. It was in the heart of winter, so it's absolutely freezing as you can imagine in Finland. But yeah, that was a sick uh, experience. That's one of my favorites. Yeah, really nice. Like having a nice hotel in the middle of winter in Finland. It's quite cozy, and yeah, the party was sick as well. They put like a logo up for me, which was dope. Um, Crowd was good, definitely. That's not a gig. That's just me and Copper in Berlin. Um, that's just randomly me in Void in Berlin, where I've played like 100 times. This was another one. This was one of my best gigs. Probably the best gig I played in Germany. Um, More recently, this one was supposed to play in Hamburg during just before lockdown started, and then it was cancelled, and then we managed to reorganize it to happen after the lockdown. But yeah, Hamburg was it was quite a big crowd. It was the first time I played to a crowd like that size probably, so that was a sick one. That's when I arrived at Hamburg. That's the main G that booked me for that. Braised. He had a release on Bad Taste recently. He's a pretty sick producer and a general all-round legend. But yeah, I only got to stay for one night, so I stayed in like a hotel near the place, and it was like it was right near the Hafer, so like on the river. So it's sick to like see the river like that night of the club, like in the early hours, being on the river. That was cool. But I had to go home the next day. Oh yeah, the next day when I went home, I had to. The train was cancelled, I think, and I had to take a bus home, which was long. And on the way back, I was proper like hanging. I don't know if I'd actually been drinking or if I'd quit at this point. I think at this point I'd already gone teetotal. I think. I can't remember. Either way, I was absolutely dead from the event on the way home. And what happened? Yeah. I ended up sitting next to this blind woman, a really old blind woman on the way back, and I had to basically take care of her like the whole trip home on the bus. It was like quite a long bus ride, and she was like, yeah, really desperately like she was like dropping her food all over her lap, just dropping everything on the floor. And I had to like just got to keep picking stuff up for her and help her out because she was completely blind. But yeah, no, I was so tired and I was just like, I can't deal with this now. But yeah, that happened. Yeah, this is that night. That was in Hamburg. Yeah, that was really cool. That was one of my favourites. This is a more recent one, so we're sort of skipping forward here. This is when I got back from South America. This is this year, and the boys from Discord were here. That's with the overview crew, and then I need to. Oh, this is all out of place now. Oh yeah, there are the boys. That was the same night with Mark and Ian and Rekeve all from the Discord, and that was one of the best nights for just the. It was sick like set for me. It was one of my favorite sets that I've played. But the whole like bringing together the people that I'd been friends with online and been teaching, and just like the online community, like coming down from all parts of England and Belgium, like to just for this event, like in Brighton. It was like literally the most loyal supporter act that I don't know if I deserved, but it was there. That was just like, I can't believe it. The loyalty of these guys. That was just like absolutely like unbelievable that these guys all came down. So that was one of my favourite moments, I suppose. That was a mental day because I was playing at like, I played from like 5 a.m. until 7 a.m. and I'd stayed up the whole day. I went to teach a friend near Brighton in the evening, drove with him down to near the venue, had to leave my bags with Rakib at his place, went out to meet the other guys, went out for dinner, tried to get everyone to come together for drinks, and then went to the club, and I was at the club like the whole night until 5 a.m. when I started playing, then played for 2 hours straight. Then it was like 7 a.m. and then this was taken at like 7:30 a.m. or something, I think, when we just finished the night. And then they all went back to the hotel, and I got picked straight up from my auntie and went to Hayling Island, and had to drive all the way back there. So I didn't get to bed till like 10 or 11 or something the next morning. So that was mental. But yeah, that was sick though. Definitely one of the coolest experiences. Mark says it was epic. Yeah, so glad you came down for that. That's where it all started for me. That's me probably, I don't know, I would say maybe like 15 or 16. I might have been, it was definitely before, I was definitely still at school. But yeah, that's me and Skibbs, best mates. No, I was just a fanboy, really. Little wannabe rude boy. Yeah, let's move away from that one. This was the most recent one, so I wanted to do these in order, but I just can't because the photos are just all over the place. But yeah, this is the most recent one in Israel, like 2 days before the conflict started. So that was on the Thursday night, and then I flew back on the Friday, and then the attack happened on the Saturday. So that was nuts. These guys are absolute legends, though. These all the people that I met there from Israel were like proper kind, nice guys. It was really friendly. The event was like quite full, so that was sick because I was not sure how it's going to go down, but it was a sick turnout, and I met loads of people, and they were all like super kind and friendly. So yeah, prayers going out to all those guys on a regular basis. This was my birthday in Vietnam, so this was like a while ago before I like started to like make decent enough money from DJing. So I was like still a real amateur at this point. This is quite a long time ago. It was my birthday. I probably was like maybe turning 25 or something like that. I can't really remember. Does it say? No, it doesn't. Yeah, this is in Vietnam though. I had an apartment in Vietnam. This is obviously when I was still drinking, and look how happy I am with all my Belgian beers and that. But yeah, I didn't find a picture of the event, but I played at like I played at this. It was like a restaurant, pretty much. It was like a expat restaurant run by this. I think it was Spanish or Italian couple in the middle of Vietnam. And one of the owner loved drum and bass, and he was like, "Yeah, we'll have you play at our restaurant for a night." So I played there, and their speaker was like terrible, and it was like really like low quality, and you couldn't really hear it. And I was like blasting out like the noisier and stuff on it, and it was just like just completely not the right vibe for it. And everyone kept coming up like from the party, asking me if I could play something a bit more chilled, a bit more relaxing, like not DNB or like everyone was like, can you play something else? Can you play something more like light and something that we know? And I was just like, nah. I just said no to everyone and just like played harder. Every time they asked, I just played harder Neurofunk than before, and so yeah, that was good. I did actually get paid for it. It was a small amount of Vietnamese currency, dong. I think I might have got like 50 quid for it or something. But yeah, it was when I was just an amateur anyway. But that was, I thought I'd include that because that was just hilarious evening. This was one of my first ever events either the first or second event I ever played at. That was in Brighton. I didn't have fight. There's a picture of me and Pete, Pete from Overview, when it was when he was with Lifestyle, because this was the Lifestyle party in Comedia in Brighton, and that was yeah, that was sick because it's that was like my first proper like event that I ever played, and yeah, it's quite like a medium to small sized venue and crowd, but it was just sick. It was like my first kind of event really. I remember playing Noisia Facade and Pete loving it. That was one of the best moments, I think. To know that the new Eurofunk was going down well in Brighton at the time. That's one of the first events I played in Berlin. Yeah, that was a cool one with Disprove Arena Club. That was an interesting venue to play at. That was a good night. It's one of the bigger events I got booked at in Germany. This was at I was on the Liquid Chill floor, which doesn't really make sense, but I was still like building a name for myself. I was still a bit unknown then, so I just sort of took that one. That was in Dresden. That was fun. That was a gig I did with a friend in Austria, a beatbox party in Graz. That was definitely an interesting night. Oh yeah, this is one of the best. To be honest, one of the best events. This was the after party, kind of after my show. This was in Kiev in Ukraine, and yeah, shout out to those guys. They were absolutely lovely, and yeah, I still talk to these guys, but they a lot of them left. They gone to live in Estonia and other places. But yeah, that was a nuts night. That was on my birthday, so and I was partying hard on that trip. That was a party. Yeah, as you can see, that was I was going pretty wild there. But yeah, that was sick playing in Ukraine before things happened. That was in Vietnam, like from the same story from before. But yeah, my nan came to visit, and I took her around on a moped, and I thought I'd just share that because that was funny. Yeah, this was the show in Finland I already kind of talked about. That was cool. That was in Finland as well. The guys were really nice. A couple of those guys were on Patreon subscribers as well that I met out there. Yeah, that was Finland again. It was absolutely freezing, but very beautiful. And yeah, Finland with my mate Yoni, who's an absolute legend. That's the Hamburg gig I already talked about. Oh yeah, this is probably this is in the top 3 of the events I played at. It might be the best one. It's difficult to decide what was the best, but yeah, this was in Medellin in Colombia on New Year's Eve. The last one just gone, and that was nuts because they apparently I was the first DJ from the UK that they'd ever had at their party, so it was like a big moment for them. And yeah, that was mad. I played after New Year's Eve. I think I played at like 2 or 3, maybe 3 a.m. It was the other side of the city to where I was staying, so I had to take a really long taxi there. And it was a wicked crowd. There was quite a lot of tourists as well. There was a lot of people from France, and a few lads from England there as well. Loads of travellers all kind of met there and came for their New Year's Eve, and they wanted to hear a bit of DNB, and I happened to be from the UK and playing there as well. So it was epic. And it was full. It was absolutely packed, that club that night. It was really absolutely ramo. And yeah, that's one that I really sort of hustled that gig, and yeah, it was one I got paid for, but it was not an easy. It's one of the only times I've had to keep pestering the promoter to pay me, and it was a bit annoying, but it did all work out in the end. But yeah, it was negotiating with Colombians is fun. These are my 2 Colombian friends that's in Medellin as well. These are the guys who help or the Brain. He's the guy on the left. That's my my G. He helped me get some shows out there. And yeah, he dropped the track on the label, and he's a legend. He's been on the YouTube channel, so you guys might have seen him. And yeah, Medellin though, that's a beautiful city, and it's it's so nice. Yeah, this would be the other. My top 3 gigs probably would be Colombia, Medellin, just to play out there, like so raw. It was just so much fun. Yeah, this would be like my other ones in my top 3 in Puerto Rico, because yeah, this is a bit of a longer story, but I'll try and keep it short. But basically, during lockdown, I started like my Patreon, and I had 3 different people from Puerto Rico join, and I was like, wow, there's obviously a big love for DNB in Puerto Rico. And I dreamed about going out and seeing these guys and playing out there after lockdown ended. And it was just a fantasy, but then it actually ended up happening. And I just couldn't believe it that, I did actually sort of, make it happen myself. I put the groundwork in to try and get things, rolling over there. But when it actually happened, and I sort of flew into Puerto Rico and landed there, and the island is like so beautiful. Yeah, and the people were so nice. It was just a dream. I could have died like that night, and I would have been happy. Like, that was just a dream come true there, to be honest. Yeah, that was with the Puerto Rico crew. These were all 3 Patreon members throughout like the whole of lockdown. Yeah, such nice people. You can see my smile there as well. I was like over the moon. I was like I was in heaven there. It was such a cool place. Yeah, that was at the I think after my set there. It was a little bit of a shame. It wasn't the busiest. It definitely was not the busiest night that I've played at, but just the whole experience, the whole trip there, and yeah, the whole thing was just so cool. Yeah, and then that was more recently. That was the Brighton one again, with the Discord crew, and yeah, that was Israel recently. That was before I played the gig there. That was when I was in Jerusalem. That was crazy at the Jewish festival of Sukkot. It was mental there. That was just absolutely nuts. And yeah, that was in Colombia again. A few weeks before I played in Medellin. That's in Bogota. And yeah, that's the Brighton event again. There was a picture of when I was in Kiev for that show. Oh, that's an old one where I played in Münster in the West Germany for lifestyle music back in when they were around. But yeah, that's like some of the best memories that I've had, really. I guess I don't know why I just felt like I wanted to share that. Next show is next month in the Netherlands. But yeah, I guess the main reason I wanted to share it was also to say that yeah, it's my mission to spread drum and bass like wherever I can, and it's been like mad to play in some places like Colombia and Puerto Rico and Israel, and I want to play in more mad places. Like I want to play in like Kazakhstan or somewhere like really remote and random where they don't even know what drum and bass is, or they're like really new to it. Because that's actually quite exciting when because people love it, or like they don't know that they love it yet, but they will. Because I think drum and bass is really infectious, and I think that some people around the world haven't really been exposed to it yet, or they have, but they just don't really get it yet. But I think it's like a matter of time until they get it, and I want to be there when they get it. Because like it's kind of like in Colombia, like the people were like really starting to love it there, and I was there to see. I could see the excitement of people like getting into it for the first time, and so that's why I wanted to show this video. It's not, I didn't want to like gloat or boast about like look how many places I've been, like look how cool that is. I wanted to help like maybe inspire some people, and a lot of the times that I played in different countries was Just did it myself. Like I just went there and just got the ball rolling. So yeah, a lot of the times I've been booked to go to places, but there's been many times where I've just rocked up to somewhere, made some noise, tried to make some things happen, and done it that way as well. So yeah, you can like yeah, I think like sometimes it's good to put in the work to like make some cool stuff happen. That's what I wanted to say really. Like it's not always about like you can really do things your own way. Like the sky is really the limit. Like with your imagination, you can make things happen all over the world if you like want to just go there and do it. You can where there is a will, there is definitely a way. Yeah, so that's I guess part of my mission really that I sort of naturally discovered is sharing the joy and beauty of drum and bass to as many parts of the globe as possible and spreading the positive message, because I think it is a positive message, drum and bass, because we have such a nice, kind community, and all the events that I've played at, everyone is really nice to each other, really friendly, and so I think it's just a great thing to go and spread around as much as possible. So I hope to continue to do that. And yeah, that's some of the little backstories of places that I've been and things I've done. If not, for everyone on this channel, because it's it's an educational YouTube channel mostly, but I also just wanted to sort of document a little personal story today. So I hope you hope you feel a bit inspired by it. And yeah, like I said, it's really, you can really make a lot happen yourself, if you want to go and play in India, why not? Just go there. Just fly there and then just make something happen when you're there. There's one way to do it anyway. But yeah, I mean, I love it. I love traveling. I love D&B. And like, I will combine the two together, whatever happens, if someone's not ringing me up, booking me for a gig in Buenos Aires, then I'll just go there. I'll fly there and I'll put on my own night there if I have to. And if I haven't got the money for it, then I'll get a job again. I'll get a 9-to-5 job, and I'll stay at home every evening. I'll sell everything on eBay, and I'll make the money to get the flight, and then I'll go there, then I'll play there. So where there is a will, there is a way. So if you feel inspired by my journey of DJing in different places, just know that it's not something that's out of reach. If you want to do it, you can definitely do it. And I'm not I've never been on I've been on some labels, Renegade Hardware, Bad Taste, yada yada yada. But really, yeah, my mentality is always just to sort of do it my own way, really. So I don't think you don't have to let industry gatekeepers or things hold you back from doing stuff. You can just find a way to get yourself out there and do your own stuff like how you choose. Is that there's the world is small these days, so it's not out of the realms of possibility, Yeah. But I'm a bit crazy though. I'm quite fearless in certain situations with traveling to other countries on my own and stuff. I'm a bit of a risk taker sometimes, so it's not for everyone. Xenopath says, would be cool to see a video of you documenting how you prepare for these gigs to inspire those of us who dream of performing across the world. Yeah, what, we're preparing the set list and stuff like that. I mean, the most recent one with my most recent trip to Israel. Um, I actually thought about it, and I thought, do I prepare for my set before I fly there so I can just sort of enjoy my time and not do it? But I was really I had a few, I had 7 or 8 days there before my show. And I really wanted to like feel the the atmosphere of the country, and like even though it wasn't like I wasn't in the DNB events before, something about just like being in that country and like feeling the atmosphere. I wanted that to like inspire um my set list, you know. So I did like end up I heard a lot of Middle Eastern music and stuff. So I felt I knew there's a few tracks in my collection where there's some sort of Middle Eastern instrumentation and stuff. So I wanted to include a few of those to like connect with the crowd on that level a bit. But yeah, I really like was in loving just being in the place, and then like sort of slowly thinking about my set list in the background, and then building it up just 1 or 2 days before the event. So that's all I can really say about that, really, with preparing for the gig, because I mean I know how to like mix, because like I mean mixing is not super difficult really once you've got the hang of it. Like obviously some people are like really pro, but for me I'm focused on like track selection. So as long as the mix is like smooth and clean, then I just let the tracks do their thing. So that's my technique. So for me, it's all just the track selection. And yeah, like I recently bought myself a little MacBook so I could do exactly stuff like this on the road. So I'm really grateful that I invested in that, because it allowed me now I've got two, which is like when I'm at home, it's like kind of pointless. But yeah, paying that extra to get a portable Mac, just a little light one, means that when I'm on the road, I can like make decisions and like update my record box, like while I'm at the airport, or while I'm like at the hotel or in a cafe or whatever. So I prepared like a lot of the playlists. Like I'll just like go for a coffee, like sit down with my laptop for a few hours and like just do it there while I'm in the country or whatever. So yeah, just sort of being inspired by just sort of going with the flow really, and like letting that choose my set list. And that's the only preparation really, is like getting a good set list and a good like structure. And then when it comes to the live mixing, like I leave that sort of up to chance, whether I'm going to double drop it here, leave this track for longer, rewind it, or how I'm going to mix it, how I'm going to do the switches. I'll leave that all up to the night, but I'll just prepare. The only thing I'll prepare is my set list, and making sure I've got more than one USB always, because you never know if one of them's going to be corrupt. And always go and test your USB at the club, at the system, before you actually play, because you don't know how many times it's happened when when you go up to play and you put your USB in and it doesn't load up, or it's corrupt or something. So always check your USB on the decks of the club, like before people turn up, so you can like figure it out or fix it, and have a little go. Always have a little go on the mixer before people turn up. So yeah, like a sound check. Always do like a sound check before. Yeah, so that's it. That's the preparation really. It's two things. It's building a good set list that you that resonates with you. Nearer the time, so you've got fresh tunes to play, and getting that like on your USBs and everything like synced up nicely. And then the second part is doing the sound check, like going to the club before the event or whatever if you can, and testing it out. Good question though. And yeah, what like you said, with dream of performing across the world, I know like it sounds like I don't know if this is gonna sound privileged or something, but like literally, it's not like suddenly I was so good and suddenly now I'm playing around the world. I literally put in like the actionable steps to do it, whether that means like, go like for me, like I would like go back to live with my parents, like and work like a shitty job like full time if I had to, that I like didn't like, and in the back of my mind like know that I can like use that money to like pay for flights or whatever. And like, yeah, if you go into like some random country in the middle of nowhere, and you're, for example, you're from the States, you could fly somewhere completely random, and you could be this cool guy from the States that's a drum and bass DJ, and they might be well up for putting you on for a night, So yeah, you can always make stuff happen. Even if you haven't got a proper big name, that shouldn't deter you from being able to go and DJ anywhere in the world. Like there's always a way you can do it somehow, especially if you're good at like communication with people as well. Cool. I'm glad you like the photos. Yeah, these are the best of a bad bunch, really. I mean, I probably got. I was late to do this stream, so I wanted to put them in order and find the best ones, but I didn't really have time. But at least you've seen some photos. Thanks, Mark. I'm glad it inspires you. Oh yeah, not just set lists, but also equipment situations with different venues, dealing with promoters, that type of thing. Yeah. So yeah, with the equipment situations, it's more often than not, you just end up with the Pioneers. Like, I just use USBs and it's often just Pioneer these days, so it's just really straightforward. Occasionally the mixer will be different, and then it's like, you've got to just figure that out quickly. But generally the equipment is pretty standardized across the world these days, so it's not usually an issue. I mean, if you've got like special requirements, like you're doing vinyl, or you want to mix on 6 decks at once, or whatever you do, then you might have to make special arrangements. But I'm really simple. I just have a USB or 2 USBs, and I just mix on 2 decks, because I know that in that situation, like wherever I go, it's gonna like work out, And I got my own headphones, so if the sound is like terrible in the DJ booth, I can just mix on my headphones if I need to. And yeah, dealing with promoters, that's a good thing. That's a good question. To be honest with you, like all of the promoters that I've dealt with, like whether you're talking about, this one in Finland, or this absolute legend from Hamburg, the Overview Gang, a lot of them sort of like friends in a sense, so it's quite easy really. Most of the promoters I've dealt with have been like nice and kind people to begin with. I mean, I've turned down many gigs, like I'm not gonna lie. And again, I don't say this to like sound like I'm trying to be like high value, but there is a level of value that I place on my performances. And so if people like, for one, if they're not being nice, then that's already a red flag, because if you're an artist, people should treat you with respect. And yeah, and if they then want to negotiate and like really try and just get you for like a really like terrible deal, then just say no. So I've turned down like loads of gigs, like probably half at least that I get offered, just because like in my opinion, many people want to play out for like the clout, like for the status and for the fame. And yeah, I hate that, because I just think that you have to be paid accordingly for your work, because what you do as a DJ is so impactful to people, because you're like you're putting on the whole night, but you're not only like playing cool music for an hour or two. You're bringing to the table like your whole experience as a musician from like all the past years that you've been doing it. So you have to be paid for that as well, not just the performance. So people just don't. A lot of people don't value their DJing like performances enough. So that's why I'd rather play a lot less gigs, but just with the right people. So in that case, I'd just deal with the promoters who are just genuinely, that they're like respectful from the beginning, and it goes easy from the beginning. It's only when you're like scrambling for gigs and you're trying really hard to get one that like it becomes more difficult to deal with promoters, because they're not really they don't really want you as much as you want the show, So that's one thing to think about. But yeah, I get, like really dealing with promoters, the what it comes down to really is like finding those ones who you're just on a very mutual respect level with, and it just kind of goes smoothly, and just sticking to those, I suppose. So yeah, in my experience, all the promoters I've worked with, like on all of these events that I've shown, has just been like smooth sailing from the beginning, really, because they've just been the right people to connect with. So like certain sort of connections or business relationships just work really easily, and some don't. So just kind of pick and choose the the best ones for you. And if something isn't working out now with a promoter, just don't worry, and something else will happen later on, usually, because there's always we've got a lot of time, I think, to find the right people to work with. So yeah. Do you consider and try and include some tracks in set list that will be familiar to the local audiences? Yeah, I guess so. That's really difficult. It's really difficult for me to know what the local audience is like. I mean, that's kind of what I was talking about with the Israel gig, because I just don't know. Are they going to be receptive to Neurofunk? I hope so. It's just difficult to know. So that's why I was lucky to go there and like be there for a while. And I thought, if I stay in the country for a while, maybe I'll get a better idea of what songs to include. But mostly at the end of the day, for me, I personally feel like I'm trying to bring what I think is the most current sort of representation of drum and bass, and try and include a lot of various styles, so all people in the audience can find something that they like. Because I wouldn't just stick with just pure Neurofunk, because it would just be too much for some people. And I'd want to include some more some jungle tracks, some more like softer melodic style of tracks as well. So I just try and play a range always, and I'll just mix it in a way that you get ups and downs throughout the set, really, so that there'll be something for everyone, really. That's how I try to do it, because yeah, it's difficult to know exactly what people will like, but yeah, I just really try to source the best possible high quality, interesting, new, forward thinking drum and bass that I think is just really, really awesome, and that still is danceable and funky. I don't really want to be wowing everyone with amazing sound design when there's no real like danceable groove or rhythm. So it's got to be danceable always, in my opinion. But yeah, I just tried to prepare what I think is a good representation of of the music at this moment in time, and include a few classics in as well. So that's how I go about it. You know, I think more about trying to represent drum and bass the best way I can, rather than catering to the audience like specifically. So yeah, fortunately, when I was in Israel, they loved the neurofunk. They loved it. They loved it hard, and I think all people secretly love the hard neurofunk. It's just they want to feel like they're able to go nuts to it, you know. But deep down, I think everyone wants to go nuts to a bit of hard neuro at some point in their lives. Nico, no, I'm from the UK, but I'm based in Berlin in Germany at the moment. I do go back to the UK often, but I don't live there at the moment. I did renew my UK passport the other day though, so whatever happens over there, they'll still let me in. Yeah, and inverted designs, you attract the energy you give out. Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And yeah, that's the same thing when it comes to, like I was talking about before, with dealing with promoters. You know, you can really sense the energy when you're talking to someone. You know, respect comes above everything. You know, not like someone's trying to take the piss or trying to take advantage, or squeeze the best possible deal out of you that they can. Valuing you as an artist, all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of promoters out there that might not do that, but there are always some out there that will, and it's better to work with those. So yeah, you can sense the energy from a person, and that's my stand on it, because I'm of the opinion that I'd rather play like less shows, but just like the right ones with the right people. So if you wanted to like play like as many shows as you can, which is also cool, then you're gonna more likely be dealing with some promoters that might not be like the most easy to deal with, and in that case, you might have to change up your tactics a bit. But yeah, for me, I'm not really in a rush, so I just sort of deal with the people who just have a natural, respectful connection with. This is a good question. How do you reckon you should balance the production side with trying to get sets at the start? Trying to double down on song making right now. So should I still be trying to go for sets? Yeah, that's a really good question. And that brings me back to sort of around this time when I started. Well, at this point I was already a little bit established, but if I go back to like some of the older times, like like back here in what was it? I've lost it now. Yeah, like I think my first kind of gig, almost, in Brighton, like years and years ago. Yeah, I remember that stage where I was in was like starting to make some alright tunes, and I was like, I should like try and get into DJing now. For me, it was always the tunes first, and I think still for me, the tunes are more important, because I just think about it in terms of like the longevity. Like, yeah, like a DJ set like has an impact on someone, and it might last in their memory. A lot of people will go to loads of events though, and they might just forget them. So when you write a good song, it can be played forever and enjoyed forever, and so it has more longevity. So I think it's more important in a sense. So if you're able to write really good music, then I think that has more value than playing live shows. So but you have to make really, really good music though, so it's difficult. You want to do both ideally, but I always I've always identified as a music producer and first, and a DJ second. Actually, when I first started, for me, it was all just about music production. I was terribly nervous to DJ. I didn't want to do it, but I knew that if I had to make a living from producing, because all I really wanted to do was sit at home and make songs and make cool sounds, which is kind of what I do anyway now. But all I really enjoyed at the beginning was sitting at home and making tunes. But I had this. I knew that to get an income, I would have to go and perform as well. But it was like always nerve-wracking to me at the start. Like I was absolutely petrified to be up on stage. Now I don't. I literally give zero shits. Like I literally do not care. Like I could turn up to a room with like 2 people in a massive venue and just have a great time on my own and just play whatever. Or I could rock up completely sober to a crowd of like 500 people or more, and just wouldn't bother me. I would just still do my thing. But that's come from the years of experience. And when I first started, I was absolutely terrified. So for me, it was like going to get those first few live shows was like a challenge to like get out of my comfort zone. So I had to do it for that reason. So if you haven't had many shows yet and you're not used to the performing side of it, then I would say try and get some and do it, because it's a part of you that you also need to develop, like the sort of confidence of being up on stage and that. So definitely do both. But in terms of how important it is, I still think that making music and making really good music is more beneficial and important in the long term overall. But if you are going to be a DJ as well, then you want to get started early to build up that the confidence and the resilience, and when things go wrong when you're playing live or whatever, you want to be used to that energy. So yeah, focus primarily on the tunes, but if and when you can do some sets as well, then try and get some, and just for the experience, but don't stress out about it. Just enjoy it. I feel a lot of smaller DJs try rush the process, but it's a long-term game. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's worse than it ever was before. When I started, it was nowhere near this crazy that it is now. It's like a drug for people now. It's so unhealthy in a way. How I feel how people are so desperate for it, and it's not healthy, because it's like you're going to burn out. You're going to place too much importance on things going right for you in the short term, and I think a lot of people have their priorities in the wrong place, and rightly so. I mean, I don't blame anyone. I think that our generation and our culture, promotes that. It promotes short-term success. I've talked about this on loads of videos before, but we live in like a lightning speed success culture, and realistically, you could have, overnight success these days, but then someone else is going to have overnight success the next day, and then and then suddenly you're back to zero again, and you've had this big high where you've gone like up there in the sky, you've been really successful for 20 minutes, and now you're back at zero again, and everyone's forgotten about you. And what are you going to do then? Are you going to just like be desperate for that high again, or how are you going to balance yourself internally, because it can be like really up and down if you let it. So never rush the process, and aim for that long term. I aim for that long term mentality always. And that's why I like making music, because if you make a really, really good song, people can enjoy that song for years, Like you make an absolute classic like single that's really really cool. It could stand the test of time. People could still enjoy that song 10 years later, and that's a long term thing. So I find it better and more interesting to make like a really really cool song that will be people will be able to enjoy not only when it's released but also in the future. And yeah, and just sort of zoom out and take things slow and just enjoy the journey and don't worry about tomorrow's headliner and that, because that just changes like a shit coin. Yeah. Build a community of people that you can enjoy the journey with. At the end of the day, people who are into D&B go to see DJs they know the tracks of, as they know what to expect. Dubs they may or may not play out. Yeah. Big ups. My G Daz in the house. Yeah, this is the key. This is absolutely the key. Vertigo has hit the nail on the head. I think you need to be DJing and doing this stuff for the right reasons. People want instant satisfaction of sets and crowds before they may necessarily be ready. Exactly, that's it. Because where I've been doing it for such a long time, if I go out and I have a massive like crowd and the reaction is like, oh my god, it's so good, like I don't get that elevated from it. Like it's like yeah, it's like the higher the highs, the lower the lows, So if you chase this high of like, and you place that as your that's like your god. You're worshipping like the god of success and big crowds and big festival shows. That high will lead back down when it's over. So at the end of the day, that is a very temporary satisfaction. It is a good satisfaction. It's a lot of fun, but if that's the only thing, you're doing it for, then you will burn out emotionally, because you can't sustain that. So you have to realign what's important to you, and not get too carried away with it if success does come your way, not to get too carried away with it. And that's why you hear about like people who become successful or whatever later in their life. They know themselves more, so they're able to deal with that. They don't like get a lot. Some people probably do, but a lot of people wouldn't necessarily get as like, their ego like wouldn't completely take over them, and they'd be like more grounded in who they are before that happens. So yeah, in some ways, like an overnight success can be in a long term like detrimental to someone. So it's not something that I would personally prioritize. So it's better to aim for things that are more like sustainably fulfilling, in my opinion, as boring as that might sound to some people. But yeah, building friendships, building communities, helping people out along the way. That's why, as much as I love to release a song and it do well and play shows, at the same time I want to bring other people up with me, because that gives real satisfaction. Like actually helping someone out, sharing your knowledge, doing things for others in the community, like that more, I guess, like not even charitable work, but like there's so many ways that you can add value to our community. That's not just through being the number one headliner playing at a festival. Like that's one of many, many, many aspects or roads or things that you can do to be a valuable member of the music drum and bass community. There's so many things that you can do, and yeah, so there's so much to focus on that's going to be fulfilling. So don't get caught up in just this one avenue, which is a very very competitive, but also uh, yeah, also very very up and down, and very much up to luck as well a lot of the time, because there's so much good music out there, but they might not be popping on TikTok right now or whatever and be number one in the charts. But that's not to say that their music isn't necessarily better. It's just sometimes it's just random, You just need to be obsessed with bleeps and bloops and making wacky sounds. That's it. That's it. Sound design. Sound design is zen, as one of my patrons, Digipack, said. He's in his zen when he's just doing sound design. He's just lost in the synth, just creating. That's for me as well. Sometimes when you're producing or you're creating music, you're just like lost. You lose track of time. You're just sucked into that world. It's almost like, without getting too spiritual woo woo, it's almost like a higher power of the universe is like just sort of working through you. You're just like a vessel, and you're just like creating, and you just lose yourself sometimes. That's the gold right there. That's when that happens. That's sick. And it can be like that when you're DJing as well. But I've played in like loads of clubs, like small clubs, like in Poland, in like just some random town, and like just had a sick night. So like you don't have to be like the number one headline act playing at this particular festival or whatever to have that experience that you just lost and just absolutely loving life. You can have that experience anywhere in the world with a crowd of people. Like, what difference does it make if it's 10,000 people or 100 people in a small room, but they're just like proper into it and loving it in like a more intimate club venue? Like, what's the difference really if you're like lost in that moment with those people? Why does it matter how many there are? So you can find that joy in like small clubs and events. You can make those things happen yourself. So that's not out of anyone's reach. Did you have musical theory background when getting into production? Just been on the tutorial grind, but any other knowledge that you think could really help the track production? I think personally, no, not really. I learned the piano as a kid, but I didn't get to the stage where I was reading sheet music. I dabbled with drums. I dabbled with many instruments, but I never mastered any. I found my niche when I got into producing and took that seriously. I found that my niche is in sound design and arranging a song without having to perform an instrument, so being able to pause, go away, come back and rework the composition electronically, digitally. That's where I found my skill is in really honing in on the details of a good stereo mix. That's how I found my niche. Well, I'm jealous of people who can play the guitar, who can play really, really well, on the acoustic guitar or whatever. I'm really jealous of those people because I can't do that. I wish I could play like a live instrument well, but I just wanted to be. It was the last thing left for me to be a musician. Was the digital musician? It's the only thing left that I could get into that I was okay at. So not really any theory, not as much as real trained musicians who went to study for that. So no. But yeah, I do think that you can learn that. For me, I'm more interested in learning about one thing I really was fascinated by is learning about orchestral arrangements, studying the way composers do things, like studying Hans Zimmer, why he'll pick an instrument over another one, and that helps with your sound selection and your sample selection, and getting to know cultures and instruments of different cultures. So for me, it was the most interesting thing is not necessarily the theory with like the melody creation and notation, although that would probably benefit me if I learned more about that. But I've more been interested in learning about like the timbres of sounds and how they, because the timbre of a particular instrument or a particular sound is often it often has so much to it that writing a melody sometimes can be inspired by the tone or the timbre of the instrument that you're using. So if you're trying to write a melody with a piano and you've got the sound of the piano, it's very, very different to if you're writing a melody with the guitar and you've got the sound of the guitar. Like it inspires you in a different way, I think. So the original like timbre and tone of a sound for me is more interesting than music theory per se. So I found it really interesting and useful to study instruments as a whole, learning about all the different percussion instruments, like the triangle, no, like like the guiro and there's I don't know, marimbas, xylophones, all that classic stuff. But there's the Jew harp. I collected like a lot of random instruments in my time. The shakuhachi, which is behind me, that's a Japanese flute, which is epic. And traveling helped with that a lot. I mean, for me, like I've traveled to 49 countries now, and a lot of them, there's music in every culture, and it's different, and they have different instruments in every culture. So for me, I'm fascinated by the instrumentation of a culture, and you can learn that on Wikipedia. You don't have to go there. You can you can learn on Wikipedia what's the national instrument of that country, and you can get it on freesound.org or whatever, and you can hear it. But there's so many like instruments and things around the world, and they all have their own sound. So that's something that you can study endlessly, like the musical instruments of different cultures, and why not look into that and then resample some stuff out of that, run it through Phase Plant, run it through Vital, and make a new hybrid sound out of it. That's how my brain works, because I'm coming from like a sound designer's perspective, But yeah, the what I love about music is is an infinite amount of sounds to explore and learn about, and cultures and instruments. And that's before you even get started with the whole music theory. So yeah, one of the coolest things I learned about was orchestral arrangements, why composers use certain instruments here and certain instruments there, why they're seated in the way that they are, how the different instruments work with each other or don't work with each other. So yeah, instrumentation as a whole is a fascinating thing to learn about. Watch some documentaries or something. I'm sure there's some good ones out there. Music documentaries are great. Just watch a bunch of those as well. The world is so big with music. You can get inspired so quickly by something random. But yeah, if you want to go down the music theory proper theory, I'm not the guy for that. I don't know. My ear's pretty well tuned to knowing when something sounds like it's out of key in a bad way, or because in drum and bass, like for example, we use a lot of dissonance. We create a lot of tension by using the semitone up or the semitone down to create this like out of scale kind of dissonance. But there's a difference between like a creative and good use of dissonance versus a key that's just not fitting and just sounds terrible. So I have an ear for that. So I could write a melody myself without really knowing the exact chords that I'm using, So I just do it by ear. But if you want to go and learn more about music theory and you've got the time, definitely feel free. Like it would benefit me if I did it as well. The Sir Ian McKellen of DNB. No, keep the questions coming. It's good. I'm glad that I thought, because at the beginning I was just sort of talking to myself. Yeah, that's the good thing about D&B Vertigo. I think it's you can write a whole track in E if you want, and not go away from the root note if you're that way inclined. Um, it's very rhythmic and sound design focused genre. So without a music theory knowledge, you can still get pretty far. Um, Counthouse, yes. Thanks for mentioning. Yes, my presets are on sale, but they were. I'm going to take the sale off today. And it's already the evening. So I mean, I'll leave them on sale for a few more hours. But before I go to bed or first thing in the morning, I'll the sale will be over. But I'm working on a new Vital Pack as well, and so that will hopefully be ready in the next few 1 or 2 weeks. Yeah, resampling seems to produce the most interesting sounds. Yeah, 100%. And finding a good sound source is also a lot of fun. I love freesound.org. It's great because they have so much on there. You can find anything on there really. And I love recording sounds myself. I didn't manage to get any amazing sounds when I was in Israel. I got a few bits of chanting and praying and random stuff. But back in the day, when I would really go out of my way to take my Tascam to a new country and just record everything, and I've still got all of those. One of the best things I ever recorded was I went to a Japanese drum museum in Tokyo. It's like the official museum for all of the drums in Japan, and you're allowed to hit them all, and there's so many cool drums in there, like massive ones and little tiny ones, and so many tones. And you're not allowed to do it, but I took my recorder and I went round and I just recorded the one shots on every drum, and I've still got them, and there's some sick samples in there. But I was very sneaky. I had a girlfriend at the time, and I got her to go and distract the there's a sort of security lady in the museum. It was very empty. It was just like me and my ex-girlfriend and the security woman. And I was like, go and engage in conversation with her over there, so I can go and over here and record all of the drums. Yeah, so recording your own sounds and just scraping the internet is great. Different type of questions. How did you travel and progress the DJ production career? I feel like I'm at a crossroad where I sacrifice traveling to stay in UK and go for the production career. I'm 20, by the way. Good question. I've written and had the best ideas for songs when I've been traveling, to be honest. So I don't think there's anything that will inspire you to write something new, different, out of the ordinary than traveling. So I don't think that's I don't think that's going to get in the way of your production career. I spent all of my life doing both, and if you get a little laptop and work on the road, you can do that, or you just go traveling for like a month, or you can take a month or two off. I did that. I took like almost a year off from production once when I went to Asia. I didn't produce hardly anything for a whole year. I just recorded sounds the whole time though, and some of the best stuff I wrote and the best ideas that I came up with were from that. Taking time away from producing to go and live life and explore the world is absolutely gonna help you, not hurt you. You don't have to feel like you're in a rat race all the time. Because I've been doing it for like 10 years, and there's been times, like I said, I took like a whole year off. And then you just catch up again when you get home. Yeah, well, you're trying to if you're trying to fit it in, it sounds like you might be rushing it a bit much. What do you use to record sounds? So I'm really lazy. I just use my iPhone now, to be honest. I've got in my drawer, actually. I could probably show you. This bad boy. This is great. I love this one. This is a Tascam DR08, and it's really like thin and quite light. And I've had it for years. I travelled to Asia for a year and around Europe for half a year with this, and I recorded everything with that. And I only recently put this fluffy thing on top. It didn't always have that. That's just for wind protection. This is great. You get really high quality sounds with that. But I'm really, really lazy now, and I like to travel light, and I can't be bothered to carry things around in my backpack. So I just use my phone to record stuff now, because it's not like amazing quality, but when you're like recording street sounds and Foley, a lot of the time, like I don't really care so much about the quality. You know, if I was trying to like really get high quality recordings, you know, on purpose of whatever, like certain textures, then this would be much better. But if you're just on the go and like something interesting happens and you want to record it and throw it in your song, then I just don't worry about the quality that much. You know, if it's just like for fun, you know, just record it on your phone and throw it in, EQ it and add some reverb, you'd be fine. Yeah. Oh, big ups Chris Him. Oh, Chris Him. Well, there he is. Chris Him's joined the chat, and there he is in real life as well, and there on the left. So, yeah, absolute legend. Yeah, because it was one of my best shows. The actual night of the show was not super amazing, like I said, but the whole like experience of going out to Puerto Rico and meeting some of the guys, and you know, that's what I live for, really. You know, building bridges with people and connecting with people. That's more important to me, you know. So that was sick. Big ups to Chris Him in the house. I love banging on my kit and chucking a few of my own beats in tracks. It's sick. Yeah, Daz is doing that, and yeah, Daz got a nice drum kit. You know, you don't have to mic it up like to such a high professional level to get a fairly decent usable sound, you know. So it's better to record sounds with a shitty mic than to not record sounds at all, you know. So that's why I don't mind just using my phone to record stuff. And there's been many times when I've done that and thrown it in a track, and it's been cool. I've seen a video of Fred again sampling a busker in the London Underground on his phone. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, a lot of these sounds that you would you know, record and use in a track, a lot of the times for those kind of things, you can really get away with using your phone, especially like you just EQ out the rumble. You know, if you're using the sound as a mid-range or a high-end element, you know, you're not trying to capture the bass of it. So it would be different if you were trying to record a double bass guitar on your phone and you wanted to have the bass of it. Then obviously that's not really going to work that well. But depending on the sound, you know, let's say you're recording the ambience of a bustling French cafe in the mountainous region of Grasse, and there's a lot of fancy people chattering and drinking coffee, and you're just recording the ambience. You could do that on your phone and add a bit of reverb, and it's going to sound pretty cool in your song, you know, just like the ambience of places and stuff like that. There's loads of other like sounds that you can record on your phone, and you don't like need the low end to be good, so you can definitely like use it, because most of the time the low end in your track is going to be coming from like your bass and like you know, like sine waves and stuff like that. So like that's that, you know, you don't need to record that stuff, you know. So a lot of the things that you'll record out and about, it's not important that they have super clean bass on, in my opinion, when you're doing field recordings. So yeah, I'm lazy, so I'll just record it on my phone and use it, you know. That's me. All right, any more last questions before I go? I've got to make some dinner. Thanks for all your questions so far. Anyway, it's been good. It's been a good little end to my Sunday. Nope. All right. Well, I am going to make some food then. And thanks for hearing my story. And at the end of the day, I just hope it inspires you. And I just, I just hope that you don't, have to chase short-term success. Just enjoy it, Take your time, make some shit happen. If you need to, you'll find a way to make things happen. There's always a way when there's a will. So with that, I thank you guys for joining, and we'll carry on with some more production content next after this more personal kind of AMA session today, and a little background story. For dinner, I don't want to say because I feel a bit embarrassed, but I've got a really, really, really underwhelming dinner today. I'm basically just gonna have some chips with ketchup. So yeah, very humble, simple dinner tonight. Yeah, just some chips, mate. Yeah. All right, guys. I'll catch you guys soon.